right. So, as we are still in the first quarter of 2023, well, there isn't a better time, I would say, to consider furthering your education, mi gente. Our first guest is the vice president of Boricua College, a 4-year bilingual institution designed to serve the educational needs of Puerto Ricans and other minority groups underrepresented in higher education. Boricua College focuses its learning activities on solutions to problems facing these communities and prepares students for effective community leadership. And joining us to share more is one of Boricua College's vice presidents, Francia El Castro. Hello and welcome.
Good afternoon.
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, I didn't say that. I said good morning.
It's
Say
okay.
good morning.
It's
Empezamos mal. Perdona.
no, I think we're
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
You're just ahead of the game. You're like, it's already afternoon in my
Good
head.
morning, Rhina.
Good morning to you.
Yes.
Good morning. And thank you for making it in studio today. We really appreciate
And
that.
thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, so this is, you're possibly maybe the third person we've invited on behalf of Boricua College. However, your story is really, really unique, and I'm so looking forward to sharing it with our viewers because not only are you the vice president, but prior to that, you were a student turned staff member, and then eventually becoming the vice president. So let's just give everybody as succinct as possible a nice little journey of how you got to the position you're in now.
Okay. So I came to Boricua when I was a 27-year-old, and I came to study. And I was introduced to Boricua College by a very good friend of mine who was then a corporate lawyer and said, if you're ever going to finish your education, you need to check out Boricua College. I went to Brooklyn. I was accepted. I started. I had an ex-nun who was my first facilitator. I almost quit during that first semester because I was in the middle of a divorce. And I was in the middle of a divorce and my grandmother was dying. So, but that facilitator kept me there. And within a year, I had finished my first year there and I was invited to join the college. And I wasn't the director yet, but I was asked to come in to build the library. And I had to go through many steps to build the library. And then I was asked to deal with registration and assessment. Then I was asked to deal with admissions. So I had a lot of different roles. I was asked to take on development. So over the years, I took on more responsibility. I said yes.
Right,
You know?
right. But
I said
you,
yes.
but, which thank God you said yes.
And I
'cause
kept
let's-
studying,
Yeah,
you
right.
know.
But what you're sharing with us right now was when Boricua College only had one campus because Boricua
did.
has 3 now.
It did. I was living on Grand Avenue in the Bronx with my 2 small children, and I would travel from almost Fordham Road all the way into Brooklyn to study at 9 Graham Avenue. And that was at least 3 or 4 days a week. And I lived with someone who took care of my children because I was in the middle of that.
Right,
divorce.
you were in the
and
middle
so,
of divorce.
So somebody had a home. I lived in that. I had an apartment in that home. And this woman, Margarita Gonzalez, would take care of my children, get them bathed and ready for bed. And I would come home very late from those studies. You know?
Why was it so important for you to complete with Boricua College and continue there all the way in Brooklyn? And not only that, you've made it your life's mission, which we're going to get to.
It is my life's mission. You know, I had gone to boarding schools where I was the only Latina, probably the darkest person, you know.
Right.
My mother found these schools for me, you know, and so she put me out in College Point, you know, when I was in kindergarten. I would come home on weekends. And I was in a very strange environment, you know. I was Puerto Rican. I was asked to speak Spanish at home. And when I was in these schools, I was really what is called a minority, a word that I do not like.
Right.
You know, because I'm not a minority.
I understand. Trust me. I know. We've all
So-
been conditioned to use it. And I even introduced it as such. And I'm with you in understanding that, you know what, we're actually not a minority.
We're not a
but We've been
minority.
conditioned to address
Yes.
ourselves as such.
Yeah.
Right. But in that particular moment, being like maybe one person in the entire class. And I know what that feels like. I've been there.
Yeah.
So okay, so you did the boarding school and you felt somewhat, you know, like an outcast, we'll say, right?
yeah.
And you had to also, I guess, allow yourself to convert or just become whatever it is that was required of you in that moment to survive.
But I was always a Puerto Riqueña. I
Right,
was
I get
always
it.
a Latina. And when I found the college, I thought, well, if I had registered at several colleges and hadn't been able to complete. When I got there, I was treated in a particular way. It was a very, I mean, it was a walk up.
In Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn.
Yeah.
It did not look like the schools that I had attended.
Got it.
And I thought, well, if this is where I've landed,
Right.
then this must be the place where I'm going to complete this education. And I started, I was one of, I think my class that I registered in was one of maybe 36, 53 people that were registered in the entire school. And when I, ran admissions registration assessment, we had over 1,200 students by the time I got to be the director of that department.
And so what numbers are we looking at now?
We're in a very difficult place now. COVID has decimated our student enrollment, but we are fighting, and we deserve to be in this universe of colleges. We have a tremendous program of studies, tremendous, and that no college has. We deal with individualized instruction and the development of skills, intellectual skills, the development of affective skills. How do you receive somebody? How do you respond to somebody?
Right.
How do you value yourself and others, in communication? And we have experiential studies. The theoretical and cultural studies are like the traditional courses in everywhere else. But the individualized instruction, colloquium and affective studies and experiential studies are very central and really attuned to our community.
I want to say that experiential studies right now is really the most crucial tool that we can all develop right now based on what we've all endured the past 3 years.
It is true. I was watching a TED Talk, I think it was last night or the night before, and they're talking about the skills that need to be developed. And when I'm meeting a lot of people out there, the young people really are not speaking about college. And we really want to get them in,
Right.
This is a time for you to, come in. You can do skills development or you can do something else, but get your education, get at least the foundation.
And so let's just share with our viewers what the difference is attending a college such as Boricua College, which is a private college, versus a city college.
Well, I attended a city college, okay? And in the city college, you're one of many in a room. You're sitting in a class of 20, 30 people. You've got somebody in front of you. You're listening to that person speak to you. At Boricua, the studies are with a facilitator. It's very
Personalized.
very personalized, but very costly, because that person has to spend an hour with every single student that registers with them, and then has to be with small groups of students, in circles. So the individualized instruction,
Right.
Colloquium, group work, right? And experiential studies. It's fascinating. It's really great.
It sounds fascinating, and I understand you also focus primarily on liberal arts, right? And that is like the umbrella of all of, I guess, even I want to say every business.
It's
some
the
form.
foundation
Yeah.
of, it is the foundation of academics. People forget it. Sometimes people come in. I had some person come in. They transferred all these HVAC courses once, and they wanted us to accept them towards the degree. You must meet certain course requirements
Right.
in order to graduate. So you can have those HVACs, but you can't graduate with them. You need the liberal arts. You need your English, you need your math, you need your science. You don't know when you're going to use it, but you need it.
So before we go, I wanted to share, because we've been speaking from this place of individualized education and what that means to be in a space that you're welcomed, understood, embraced, also come as you are, and even if there's language barriers, it's also something that's addressed as well, because you also offer bilingual education.
Yes.
Right? So in offering the bilingual education, does that mean somebody who solely speaks Spanish can actually obtain these courses solely in Spanish?
No.
Okay, let's talk about
All of our education is in English, and people need to understand that, okay? And you need to have a high school diploma, you need to get through the entrance exam, and you need to be able to read and write, right? Because the modules, which is the basis of the intellectual skills development, a lot of reading, a lot of writing. Sometimes people don't want to do that. They just want to memorize, make a little paper. No, this is really developing the intellectual skills so that you can comprehend things, so that you can analyze things, so that you can synthesize something, so that you can evaluate it. These are the intellectual skills.
And so my last question is because it is Boricua College, is Boricua history taught within the curriculum?
Puerto Rican history is taught, yes.
Right, that's what I should say, Puerto
Yes.
Rican.
Puerto
Sorry,
Rican
not
history.
everyone understands
Puerto Rican
Boricua,
history is taught.
Puerto Rican.
But I have not been the registrar for many years. So I don't know if Puerto Rican history has been dropped, but it was taught for many, many years. And in fact, I took it when I was there. So I took Puerto Rican history 1 and 2. So
Yeah, well, I think it's important that
Yeah.
our history be passed on as
Yes,
well. So
yeah.
I just want to make sure that we share that with our viewers.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
lastly, my fellow Buddhist sister,
Yes.
in your practice, because I read here that you do work with SGI USA, which is the Soka Gaikai International.
Yes.
And that is Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism.
Yes.
How has your practice served in your mission?
I think that, people say get a life, and those are just words, right? But I think my Buddhism has taught me how to get a life. I have developed a life, a very big life, and I've created human revolution within myself. I have been able to overcome many, many obstacles, with my practice. And I do want to share with you that there are thousands of forms of Buddhism. Not all of them are alive and well. So this Buddhism is the highest level, and it talks about, Buddhism in daily life. You don't have to, not wear makeup or dress a certain way. Daily life, every single day, building happiness, bringing out the best that you have, and winning.
And winning, because we love that. And it all starts with transforming poison into medicine. Woo! I love it, I love it, I love that we have that in common. All right, everyone, thank you once again, Francia Castro, Boricua College Vice President. And you guys, if you're listening and you're interested in learning more on Boricua College and where you can enroll, you can visit boricuacollege.edu.